Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on just some DC news. So we're at the end of the first month of 2025, otherwise to some people known as January, with the Super Bowl coming up in just over a week from now. I did see some people confused thinking it was this coming week because the conference finals were last week, but they take a week break between the conference finals and the Super Bowl. So yeah, we've got another week. Now, the big question with this is, will Superman have a presence at the Super Bowl? Well, we'll talk about that in this video, as well as some other DC news that came out over the past week or so regarding a couple of projects. So yeah, let's go. But of course, throughout the video, let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts and everything we go over. And if you enjoy the video, drop a like, takes 2 seconds. So the first thing to go over is they released like a new teaser sort of thing. Like it was a TV spot. That's what it was. It was a TV spot. And we mentioned it before, those conference finals for the NFL. It played on, I think for both games, it was just on that specific day/night. You know, a couple of times. I'm not too sure because I didn't get the American broadcast, so I have no idea how many times it played and everything like that. So I'm just assuming it played at least once during both games. And it was pretty much just a condensed version of that main trailer we got, but it had a couple of stuff, like a couple of things, like it had a shot of Lex Luthor coming off of his like helicopter aircraft sort of thing, and then we had like a bit of an extended sequence of Superman flying where we see him do this spin move, which you might be able to see on screen. And it ends with like Superman sort of coming up very close to the camera. Now, it was this shot here, this final one, which caused a lot of, I don't know if it was drama, but just conversation and just a bit of discourse is probably the best way to put it, because it looks a bit off. Now, yes, I think I didn't really notice it at first because I was sort of looking at the background and really his like cape and stuff to see how, I know it sounds weird, but that's just sort of what caught my eye. And this was, by the way, that shot of like the spinning and stuff, that's clearly one of those drone shots that James Gunn was talking about. I don't know how they would do it, by the way. Would they have like flown through that, like done almost like what Superman does, but in reverse to sort of get that shot and then just reverse the clip when it's Superman coming to the screen? I'm not too sure. If anyone does drone stuff, you might be able to let me know. I don't know. I'm just very curious in regards to how they did that. But I think the shot looks fine. You're like, yeah, the eye thing is a bit weird, but it didn't surprise me too much because we had a shot in that first trailer we got, and it was the shot where like Superman's in like the glass prison, like the Hollywood Squares type of thing, when he punches out of it. And it does look like this weird tracking zoom out shot, which looks very odd. You're like, okay, it doesn't look bad. It just looks unique and a bit different. And then we found out it was due to like the lenses where it can sort of change, what do you want to call it? Like shots and stuff like that. So I assume that there was probably the same thing going on here, and it was just like sort of like a fisheye lens. When you have a fisheye lens, like even on like your iPhone, you can do like the 0.5 thing and it looks a bit off. I assume that this was the case here, and that's what Gunn essentially said, because people thought it was a bad CGI face, but I thought, I don't know, doesn't, like, if you're going to do a CG face like that, it wouldn't look like that. It might just look a bit rubbery, but that looks like it's distorted a bit, which the camera would do. And that's what Gunn said, as you can see here, because someone questioned the CGI in the face. He says there is absolutely zero CG in his face. People's faces can look different when you put a wide angle lens up close. The background plate in Svalbard is 100% real, as is David. So I think he's talking about the background there, which, as I assumed, was the case because it looked like it was a drone shot. So I'd assume that all that stuff there is real. It's just that David Cornswept wasn't actually flying. He just would have, done this in front of a green screen. But here's the thing. Though Gunn is saying it's not CGI, I have a feeling this might get fixed up because the fact that people are pointing it out, maybe there's a bit of CGI touch up, at least to maybe make his eyes look a bit more straightforward. I don't know, maybe he won't fix it, because it's also important to remember, this is literally something that's on screen for like a second and a half. I don't even know if it's a full 2 seconds. I think it's on the screen for like a second and a half. If you're on the screen movie watching it, no one's going to notice it. People are only noticing it because it's the world of, well, the day and age of social media where everyone looks at everything at a frame by frame thing. I don't know if anyone would notice this in the theater. So maybe it won't get changed. I don't think it needs to, just as I said, because it's on screen for like a second. Like no one's really going to notice it. So he might leave it as it is, but he might touch it up. I don't know. But speaking of Superman and the Super Bowl, as I said earlier, we found out that Superman will not be airing a Super Bowl teaser, which seems a bit of a letdown. It's a Super Bowl. Want to have a Superman thing there, but it's expensive. They've already released their first trailer. I think the Super Bowl trailer is only worth doing if it's your first one. To be, at least for me, I think it's only worth it if it's your first one, at least on the Warner Brothers side of things. So I think it's probably the best thing to do is probably not do it. depending on how much it would be. But we know that they're going to be doing that thing at the Puppy Bowl, which is probably just going to be like a crypto scene. It's a new teaser, like a new sneak peek. They said is going to be at the Puppy Bowl. It's like what not like not even 99%, like it's 100% going to be crypto based. It just depends whether it's like an extended part of that, you know, snow scene that we saw in the first trailer, or it's another scene with crypto maybe somewhere in Metropolis. We'll have to wait and see, but we know we're getting that. So yeah, I mean, now with like Twitter and stuff and YouTube, I mean, if that gets enough thing, it might be as good as a Super Bowl commercial. And then they got all the screen time last week at those two other games, which arguably might have had more viewership, because I know I've heard that like the Super Bowl might have like all-time low ratings because it's two teams that people don't really care about. I mean, I'm going to be watching it, but the only reason I really care is because I want to see Saquon Barkley do half decently. Because, well, I'll say it. I mean, his anytime touchdowns this year have been pretty much a lock every single week, and he's good at like over 80 rushing yards. So hopefully Saquon does decently just due to that. I want him to get something in return for all that. But yeah, because of those low ratings, maybe Warner Brothers made the really smart decision to do their stuff last week, because we're getting like Fantastic Four, I think Thunderbolts, Jurassic World, Smurfs, I think a bunch of other stuff is doing trailers on that day, and it can all get like sort of, they just all take the limelight away from each other, though I'm sure Fantastic Four will get the most attention from those bunch of Super Bowl trailers mixed with a bit of Jurassic World as well. So maybe it's smarter for Superman to do it the way it's doing, but that will be for, you know, that's for us to wait and find out. Moving on from Superman, we have a couple of things from Lanterns. So Lanterns starts filming very, very soon. I think it might start filming like within the next week or two. I'm not too sure, but we know they had their camera test. I think a couple of days. I don't think it was one specific day. I think maybe specific actors were on specific days, but I think it went over a couple of days. But Garrett Dillahunt posted this on Instagram. As you can see, he's playing, I can't remember his character's name, but he's playing like a bit of an antagonistical role for this series. He's not the villain, I don't think, but he's playing as I said, like an antagonistical role. And you can see he posted some photos here of his own chair alongside Kyle Chandler, who's of course playing Hal Jordan, and Kelly MacDonald, who is playing Hal Jordan's like love interest in this show. Now, with this, it's going to be very interesting. Like, if you don't know what a camera test is, by the way, like, I'm sure some of you have seen that photo of like Colin Farrell sitting in that chair as the Penguin. Like, that's an example of a camera test where they just test different clothing and like the main sort of like designs that people are going to wear in a film or in a series and stuff like that. So I'm sure we'll see Cole Chandler in like his standard clothing, and then obviously Green Lantern suit. So that's obviously the thing that people are very interested to see, is him and Jon Stewart in their Green Lantern suits, and probably Sinestro in a Yellow Lantern suit, most likely. So that's what people probably want to see. I don't know if we'll see that. I don't know if they'll do a first look, if they'll reveal anything like that. They might. It depends on how CGI heavy those Green Lantern suits are going to be. Are they fully practical, or is there like a decent amount of CGI or VFX done to that? That will probably depend whether they show anything too early. But I'm sure like once we get close to the show coming out, there'll be like press kits sent out, which usually have the stuff from these camera test days, and they'll probably come out on the internet. So it might be a while until they come out, but they'll probably come out eventually. But speaking of Lanterns, we did have Porna Jagannathan, who's playing the wife of Garrett Dillahunt's character in Lanterns, and she said, quote, "It's the best sci-fi script I've ever read in regards to the Lanterns." I don't know if it's just the pilot. It might just be the first episode. I'm not too sure. And obviously that's a big claim. Look, we don't know how many sci-fi scripts, like, or good sci-fi scripts that she's been a part of or just read in general. So, you know, you take it with a grain of salt and everything like that. But Lanterns as a show, it's the one thing I was looking forward to it's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. It's not the only thing I'm looking forward to in this DC universe, but it's the thing I'm looking forward to the most, because we've been starved of like a focused Green Lantern stuff in anything going, you know, since the Ryan Reynolds film in 2011, I think it was it 2011 or 2012, whenever it was. So it's been like over a decade, like almost a decade and a half since that came out, and you know, we've just been starved of it. And then of course we had that HBO Max Green Lantern series that was, you know, announced just before COVID, and COVID essentially killed the momentum on that series and just never came out. So yeah, we've been waiting a while. We've been teased with a couple of different things, and that's never happened. So finally getting this show is just almost like relief. And I think it's almost one of those things where, like, it doesn't even have to be amazing. It's just the fact that we're getting something is good enough. But I mean, with like Damon Lindelof being involved in this, it definitely excites me a lot more than if it was just someone I hadn't really been familiar with. Like, Damon Lindelof just makes such good content. Whether it is just the Watchmen show, you've just seen that, but if you've seen his other stuff, even if you don't like the end of Lost, but if you've seen like Leftovers, I think Leftovers just being there is enough for me to be extremely excited for Lens as a show. So yeah, we're just going to be waiting a while, I think, to get anything from the show, at least in regards to a trailer, because it looks like it won't come out until the back half of next year. Like, definitely the back half of next year, but I don't know if they would wait until October, or maybe it might come out a bit earlier than that. I don't know. They said it's at least after Superbowl, so that comes out in June, so definitely not any earlier than June next year. But maybe there might be some set photos. We know, like, it's going to be filming in Atlanta, so there might be some set photos and stuff like that, but they're going to be filming in some rural areas, so I think it won't be too expensive to like border it out, like secure the area a bit more, so we might not get any set photos, but that's a wait and see. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it and show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions and everything we went over in this video. Always curious to hear what you guys are thinking, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.